Board meeting, special town board meeting, and committee of the whole meeting. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
John Baisley, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Joe Conti, Third Ward.
Michael Sifon, Fourth Ward.
Ann Church, Sixth Ward.
Todd Tancredi, Supervisor.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Adriano Dierna for Attorney to the Town.
Joshua Mackey, Eisman, Cunningham, Reister, and Hyde, Attorney for the Town.
All right. We have, as I said, a special town board meeting tonight to address a few issues, and then a committee of the whole meeting. But first, before we begin, I've got two special proclamations for tonight's meeting that we'd like to take care of. And Councilman Baisley, a longtime member of our Recreation Committee, is going to handle the first proclamation. And this is for an Eagle Scout, or a young man that reached the rank of Eagle Scout, Joshua Brace. Joshua, if you'd come up front. We have a proclamation to read to you and present to you.
Josh, first I want to say thanks a lot for taking on this project. I've known your family many years, believe it or not, which I didn't find out till tonight. I'm your grandparents on down to your father and your brothers, and you do a lot for the community. So, whereas the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, on behalf of the Town of Poughkeepsie and all the residents of the Town of Poughkeepsie, that is hereby salute Joshua Brace, Boy Scouts of America, Troop 3026, who has proven himself to be an outstanding member of the Boy Scouts of America and has achieved the highest rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas the Town of Poughkeepsie is proud to honor Joshua Brace, who gives his positive attitude and energy to serve his community, has completed his Eagle Project at the Town of Poughkeepsie baseball field by removing large quantities of rock, creating safe play areas, and the restoration and relocation of an old walking path. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby enthusiastically proclaim and extends its congratulations on his accomplishment of the rank of Eagle Scout. Be it further resolved, an original signed proclamation be forwarded under the Great Seal of the Town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, State of New York, to Joshua Brace. Thanks for all your work.
Joshua did his work at our new ballpark. It's a park in the South Fifth Ward area, Tilcon Park, and there was a lot of cleaning and raking to make our field safe and playable, as well as a walking path around the entire parcel. So I don't know how many hours you put in. You have any idea how many hours? But a lot of hours. So we certainly wanted to commend him on his hard work. We appreciate doing this work on behalf of the Town of Poughkeepsie and all the residents of the town, and congratulate you on reaching the rank of Eagle Scout. Thank you. And we have one other proclamation to present tonight. This is a gentleman who has been here before, Mr. John Frenny. And Mr. John, would you come on up? I made Mr. Frenny a deal last year, and he was here when we celebrated his 100th birthday. And I told him every birthday we'd have him back for a proclamation and to honor him again. So he, in January, reached his 101st birthday. So he's an active member of our senior center. He likes to go, and there's a particular card game he fancies down there that he likes to play, and I think he does all right. But I have a proclamation I'd like to read. The proclamation reads, whereas on January 10th, 1914, in Manhattan, New York, John Frenny was born and became the eldest sibling of 2 sisters and 1 brother, and as of January 10, 2015, celebrated the milestone of reaching his 101st year. And whereas in 1939 he married Josephine Ribando, who together were blessed with 2 daughters and a marriage that lasted 72 years. And whereas John, a portrait photographer, earned recognition as a master of photography, and in 1952 relocated his family to the town of Poughkeepsie, where he built and opened a successful studio which became the John Lane Gallery. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board is inspired by John's zest for life and offer him their sincere best wishes for continued good health and happiness, and be it further resolved that an originally signed proclamation be forwarded under the great seal of the town of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County, State of New York, to Mr. John Frenny. Congratulations. Say anything? Thank you. You got any of this, stand ovation?
I'm grateful for all this acclaim that's being given me. I wonder what's going to happen when I get old.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Oh, there it goes. Might just be the ones paying the most taxes. Yeah? I remember Franny. 100 and what
All right, now we got to get down to business. So we have 3 items, actually 4 items on our town board agenda. I'll read through the agenda items and we'll take comments or questions on each agenda item. I think hopefully a lot of the questions will be answered once we get into the presentations, but our first agenda item is to authorize the supervisor to sign Fairview Common documents. 2 is to authorize supervisor to sign a contract for median maintenance for Route 9 and Route 55, and this is for the application of pre-emergent. The company we had last year notified us they aren't interested in doing it again this year. The second company in the bidding process also declined, so we decided to go to bid just for this particular purpose, and we have a winning bidder tonight just for the pre-emergent, which has to get down in the very near term. Number 3 is the appointment of our 5th Ward council person, and then we have 1 special consent item, and that's a notification that we're going to refer to legal. Oh, I guess we have a couple. No, yeah, that's it. So I'll like to suspend the rules for public comment on agenda items.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Doreen?
So I have a question. I see we have 2 attorneys here tonight, and I know that Mr. Nelson had a conflict, I believe, with Fairview Commons. So are we the taxpayers paying for 2 attorneys here
You're
tonight?
paying Mr. Mackey for the issues concerning Fairview Commons documents, and Adrian for all the other. Neil?
Being paid out of escrow.
Yeah, Mr. Mackey
Oh,
is
so
paid out of escrow.
it is coming out of escrow for
Yes,
his. Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yep, thanks. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I make a motion to resume the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mike?
I'd like to make a motion that we move number 3 to number 1, please.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Number 3 on the agenda is the appointment of a new council for the 5th Ward seat. As many of you are aware, last week Councilman Krakauer was appointed to serve as one of our new justices. We had one of our justices retire, so Stefan was appointed to fill the rest of that term. And now tonight we are going to elevate the 5th Ward Planning Board member who's served on the planning board for a number of years now, representing the 5th Ward, and we're going to ask Mr. Lepore if he'd accept the position of councilman for the Fifth Ward, and I think he's willing to do that based on the fact that he's here tonight in a suit. So what I'd like to do is actually swear Joe in tonight, get him signed up so he can take his seat, and act.
Read the resolution.
Yeah, we'll read it, but, yep, go ahead. Jay, you want to?
Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby appoint Joseph Lepore to fill the unexpired term of Stefan Krakow as Fifth Ward Councilperson through December 31st, 2015. So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is no reflection on Joe at all, but I've been approached by some constituents that were concerned that there was a mad rush to fill the seat, and they would have rather seen a more open process where there maybe was a committee and advertised the opening, took resumes from the community of other people who were interested, and sorted through them.
Were these Fifth Ward constituents?
Well, no.
Okay.
We're all over the place, so.
I can appreciate that. Ann mentioned to me earlier that she was going to make these comments. I mean, my view is, I think the Fifth Ward constituents and the residents of the Fifth Ward need representation and need it immediately. So we have a candidate, in my mind, that's the perfect candidate. He's experienced. He's shown a willingness to serve his community by his work on many boards and not-for-profits. So with his experience as a Fifth Ward representative on the planning board, I think he's the perfect in the perfect position to accept the seat. And, as with Councilman Krakauer going to the justice position, this is an election year, and so the residents, if they should choose, have a right to get their name on the ballot this fall, and can certainly, if they're interested, run, or, make their choices known for all of us, for that matter. So I see no reason to wait, and as I said, I want to make sure the Fifth Ward is well represented from today forward. So, Any other comments?
No, you summed it up.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-2, or 5-1. Joe, would you come up and we'll do the formalities? You want to have someone come up and?
You want to have one of your family members come up with you, Joe?
Sure.
Do you want us behind you? You want us to go behind you? No? Let's see.
Family, get a picture together, Earl.
You're going to have to put your right hand up.
I think it's left or right.
I'm going to hold the Bible, Todd.
I think this is the right choice. Very good choice.
So you put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right. And I'll see if I can do this without asking Felicia for help. And repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Fifth Ward Councilman
of the Board of Council
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of ability.
Congratulations.
On board.
We got to get to work.
Joe, welcome before. Next.
I get this one.
Like throwing them right now. Right.
He's been on the planning board, see. Is he all signed and official?
Yep.
All right.
Meyer did it.
I'm told quite a few.
All right, next on the agenda is the resolution for the Fairview Commons documents, and The resolution, I think, spells out the different items that are in it. Most, a lot of them are ones we've seen before, like sidewalk, construction license agreement, sanitary sewer facility inspection, maintenance agreement, land banking, parking agreement. Neil, is there anything special that you'd like to make the board aware of, or?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the stormwater agreements, those are very standard. Sidewalk maintenance agreement, that's standard. The ones that are sort of atypical, there are actually three. Two of those are requirements of the code for the PROD designation. One is the standby tax agreement, the pilot agreement that we've discussed earlier. The second one is actually the declaration. It's that incorporates provisions to ensure that the open space, of which there's a considerable amount on the property, remains open space, is not available for development. Also includes a provision. There is a non-residential component. There's an office facility that's part of that, cannot later be converted into residential units. And so that's what the declaration covers. The declaration also includes a provision, and I'll defer to Josh on this in just a minute, that basically requires the units to be available for market rate rents by anyone. In other words, they can't be reserved for any particular income or demographic group. And that was a provision that we think offered some additional protections to the town to prevent the later conversion to a not-for-profit type of operation, because a not-for-profit presumably would be formed for a particular purpose to serve a particular demographic or income group. So, in other words, the units must be made available for rent by anyone without regard for, whether they're part of a protected group or not. And like I said, I'll turn it over to Josh in a second. The other one is the sewer agreement. There's a force main on this property, and there's a pump station that, when you look at it, we've had issues before where when the pump stations fail, even though these are private facilities, the first call they make is to the sewer department. And, if it's an emergency situation, our sewer guys are great. They get out there, they take care of it. But in some instances, we don't actually have a legal right to enter onto the property to take care of it, nor to charge back the town's time to do so. So in this case, I thought it prudent to include the easement and maintenance agreement for the sewer facility in the event there is a failure, there's a backup, a problem that needs to be solved, and the owner of the property is not taking care of it, and our guys need to go in and take care of it. We have the right to get onto the property, to undertake the repairs, and to charge back the cost of doing so. So those are the three provisions. I just wanted to turn it back over to Josh, see if we wanted to elaborate a little bit on the portion of the declaration relative to the unit availability.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. I think you summed it up pretty much. There is a provision in the Declaration of Covenants that addresses the use of the property. As you probably know, the declaration will be recorded. It runs with the land in perpetuity, so it will bind not only these current owners, but any of their successors or assigns. The provision we're talking about is on the second page of the restrictive covenant, paragraph 1, which reads, "The property for so long as it shall be used for any residential purpose as permitted by the town of Poughkeepsie shall be occupied by those individuals comprising of the general public at large and not limited to occupancy by any particular body, organization, corporation, group, class, or category of occupants." The intention of this language was to, as Neil said, avoid Marist College or other not-for-profit that would be focused on one particular group of people. The language is quite clear. It says it should be occupied. It doesn't say that that the owners will attempt to market it to the general public. It says black and white that it'll be occupied by any resident that wishes to move there, and not just a student or someone receiving some special services.
Josh, if you wouldn't mind, could you just go back over the payment in lieu of tax agreement?
Sure.
Specifically with
My interest is on paragraph number 6. Page 2.
Yep. That also is a similar provision in that if well, you had a question, but you want to go ahead with your question, or you want me to?
You go ahead, no.
So it's a similar type of protection here, which is basically that if they do convey ownership of this property, that purchaser will agree to the terms of this pilot as well.
And that would be also passed down through the property?
Correct. We have to put as many layers of protection addressing those concerns about it falling into the hand of a not-for-profit as we possibly could.
Okay.
And that language is actually very similar to a similar standby pilot agreement that was required for the Emeritus project. It's under construction on Spack Guild Boardman Road.
I think it's really important considering the concerns that were expressed to the board about this piece of property. So both, between those two items, that concern should be pretty well addressed.
I think we've done what we can to protect the town and as well as the fire district and the taxpayers, sir.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, it's a good project. You guys did a lot of work went into it by a lot of different people, so I appreciate it. We've had, we've tried to market that property in a lot of different ways, and this is the best we can come up with at this point because it's close to Route 9, but it's not on Route 9.
Right.
So.
Anything else? Bill, you want to read the resolution?
Resolution 4, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept the stormwater maintenance easement in regard to the project known as Fairview Commons, and be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign the stormwater management facility inspection and maintenance agreement, the payment in lieu of taxes pilot agreement, the easement agreement for water building and lines, temporary sidewalk, street construction license agreement, sanitary sewer facility inspection and maintenance agreement, land banked parking agreement, and a declaration of restrictive covenants and any supporting recording documents in regard to Fairview Commons project in substantially the form attached, and be it further resolved that such acceptance and authorization by the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is subject to the approval of all final documents by the town attorney, the town planning board attorney, town engineer, and the director of municipal development for the town of Poughkeepsie. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Actually, I have an amended one. I didn't see that.
You got it.
All right.
Number 2, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie, having reviewed the recommendation of the recreation director, annexed, does hereby authorize the issuance of a contract for the application of pre-emergent weed control on the Route 55 Burnett Boulevard West to Wappingers Creek Town Line and Route 9 Sharon Drive South to Barnes & Noble's medians to Neve Group at the price of $2,134.00 for the remainder of 2015, and be it further resolved that the town board further finds that it would not be in the best interest of the town to solicit alternative proposals for quotations for such service, and be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute contract agreements with the above noted company upon receipt of the required insurance certificates, and be it further resolved that the town board does hereby determine that this is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. The only comment I have is we did get alternative proposals. I think that might be an oversight on the legal department. We called 3 companies, Neve, and we have written estimates from 2 others. Neve was the lowest quote for this particular job. So, anything
I
else?
just want to thank you and Tom for jumping on this because, as we've discussed before, if you don't get it early in the spring, it's a battle, that we've never seen to win. So the fact that you guys jumped right on this within a week or so, it's nice that we got it back so quick.
Thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. 7-0. Joe, you pull your mic down. Joe. There you go.
I saw his lips move.
All right.
You did say 6-0 for the
7.
last one, though. and
I
it-
did.
7.
All right.
Just want to make that clear.
Did you vote on the last one, Joe?
I did not vote.
Comfortable?
So you don't?
I think he's gonna abstain on that
Okay.
one, so 6-0 with one abstention. That's fine.
Apologize for that.
That's okay.
Fine, Joe.
Clarify.
All right, number 4.
Be resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie, does hereby grant special consent to the following items to wit. 1, notification, the following claims referred to legal, Monroe versus the town, and be it further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the Town Board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. And SC1 is just notification, refer to legal. And that brings us to the end of our special town board meeting. We will move into our committee of the whole, and then we'll take questions, I guess, to recap the evening. But first item on our committee of the whole is a presentation concerning redevelopment of a Route 9 parcel. And this is going to be, if approved, a project by Page Park Associates, and we have a representative here to give us some details on what they're looking for and planning. Kelly,
Unplug your computer? Can I unplug your computer?
if you need the cordless mic, it's there if
I
you.
just wanted to unplug his so I can.
Uh-oh.
I know.
Uh-oh.
He said it's okay. Okay. I can't see, but I'll do it through here. Okay, I can't see, but we'll do it through here. I'm Kelly Leibolt with Page Park Associates. We're here tonight to talk about the project which we call 2323, and this is the former Schott Lithotek building, for those of you who don't know what 2323 is. And so Schott Lithotek owned this building for many years. It was a clean manufacturing building. And in 2008, the Pages bought the building with high hopes of renting it in a period when there was quite a bit of office rentals that were occurring. So this is an aerial photograph of the property back in 2008, just prior to Schott Lithotek abandoning the site. It was a very active site. The property next to it was, I think at the time, an auto body or an auto dealer as well. And to the north of it were a variety of trailer parks, which I think have subsequently been removed. But the building was very active as a manufacturing facility. So right after the purchase, it was purchased on September 11th, 2008, we sought a site plan amendment to the project. And at the time, we didn't have a tenant, but what we were trying to do was to make site improvements to the vehicular circulation and get an approval for really a facade modification. So it was a significant facade modification. And again, there was high hopes of being able to market this to most likely a medical office, something like that, that was fairly popular at the time back in 2008. So after working on this property, and I actually have worked on this property longer than 2008. When I worked at Fuss & O'Neill, I did this layout for Jim Friend. I don't know if this board remembers, Jim Friend came before this board to try to do a project where he was combining the properties to the north. So I know the site very well, and I've been involved with it for countless years, and it's been very, very difficult to lease. So the purpose tonight is that we're seeking a request or seeking the permission to commence a request to rezone the property from OR to BH. And I'll go through and show you the other properties along the site. But the OR zoning district is quite restrictive. We're having a hard time attracting various tenants, in addition to the taxes on the property, which I can probably do a longer presentation than you want to hear about our efforts to try to alleviate some of that. So this, again, was the amended site plan approval that we received in 2008. We've renewed it in 2010, and at the time still did not have any potential tenants. So We could take, again, a lot of time and go over what we've done in the last 6 years to try to lease the site. Many of you may know some of our stories, many of you may not. But Page Park is certainly one of the premier leasing entities in Dutchess County for office space. So there's some people that specialize in commercial, some people specialize in retail, but they really specialize in office space, and right now have over 800,000 square feet of office space in Dutchess County. So over the last 6 years, they've, in the same time frame that they've owned this building and have been unable to lease it, they purchased the Poughkeepsie Journal building and leased out 82,000 square feet. So there were people out there that were looking for space. In addition, they also leased 67,000 square feet in Taconic Center, which is in the town of LaGrange. And this is east of the Taconic, which is kind of nowhere's land. And so even that leased out. They also built a Planet Fitness in LaGrange. So there's a lot of activity that's been going on in the last 6 years in their office, but just this building has sat vacant, as I'm sure you know. You all drive past it every day. When the building was first purchased, it was in the Empire Zone, which many of you may or may not know what that was, but it was a tax incentive that was available through New York State. Schott Lithotek actually failed to comply with some of the requirements of the Empire Zone, and therefore was one of the reasons, I think, for their departure. But nonetheless, we did make an attempt. I met with Ann Conroy, many of you remember her, and tried to keep the Empire Zone status going. And there was difficulty doing that because the building was vacant. I attended numerous roundtables down in Westchester County to try to market the site and make it a premier showcase site, but we were unable to attract anyone from outside of the county. I listed it on every possible website that you can imagine to try to market it. We placed signs on the site, a lot of social media. There are so many brokers that have come and gone that have seen the building that I've personally shown. And again, we've been unable to lease it. We tried to do a pilot. The town was very supportive of this. The last 2 attempts, but we were unsuccessful with the school district on both occasions. We weren't even able to meet with them the first occasion. The second occasion, we were rejected. So we have made an attempt to try to do something with the property. I think many of you know now that we did seek a demolition permit because we think we have a better opportunity of attracting someone to the site with the building down, unfortunately, than with the building up. Some of the activity that has been on the site, and I have a huge file that I could go over with anyone that wants to go through it, but there was a prominent law office that looked at it. They ended up staying in the city of Poughkeepsie. We were working with a local orthopedic group, which I'm sure many of you know. We worked, it was probably 14 months, spent $60,000 on revamping the design drawings for the inside of the site. Worked at that time to try to do the pilot, and when that failed, they ended up, as you know, staying in the town of Poughkeepsie, but they're in the Wappinger Central School District in a different building right down the street. We worked with a local nonprofit agency that was going to put an educational facility in there. We were going to own the property. They were going to lease it, so it would still be a tax-paying project. That project, when we were unable again to do the second attempt on the pilot, they ended up going to LaGrange. I'm sure many of you know who that is. We worked to try to locate the Department of Labor. There were 3 car dealerships that were interested and walked away from the site. We tried to get a Planet Fitness there. As you know, it ended up locating in LaGrange. LA Fitness also looked at it. McDonald's, as many of you know, looked at this early on. HealthQuest tried to put a lab there. And again, because of the taxes, they ended up staying in the city of Poughkeepsie. Northwestern Mutual Insurance looked at it. They walked away
Kelly,
because of the taxes.
can I interrupt? I appreciate what you're saying, and it's giving me a little bit of a bad vibe, to be honest with you. I know taxes are an issue in the Spagan Hill School District, but we have had businesses. I mean, I can talk about Spagan Hill Commons. I can talk or Spagan Hill Plaza, Oakwood Commons, Orthopedic Associates, the revitalization of South Hills Mall. So. I'll let you continue. I apologize for interrupting, but we've seen a lot of development on Route 9 in the Spagan Hill District over the time frame you're talking about.
But Oakwood Commons does have incentives in both locations, on Neptune Road and up
about
on...
Spagan Hill Plaza, do they?
They do,
And how about up Barnes and Noble, that entire plaza? We've seen a Verizon go in there, and
I don't know about that particular location. But one of the problems is in order to get the pilot, you need to have a tenant. We need to have a tenant in order to go
I
and apply for the
understand
pilot.
that,
So there
and
has
I
been a
can appreciate
significant...
that fact, but I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
So the 2, then I'll end it, so if that's bothering you. The 2 problems that we found with the site is, one is the taxes, obviously, and two is the uses that are permitted in the OR district. So we're trying to
Right, and that
attract
is a very.
some other tenants.
That, and the OR district designation, I understand the problem that presents, and that is very significant.
So we have had negotiations with two tenants, and we've put together a concept plan that we would like to present to this town, to the town board, and to the planning board. So we'd like to pursue seeking a rezone to facilitate these two particular tenants. One is one that I can identify. The second I can't, because we do still have a confidentiality agreement until the lease is signed. But the first tenant is Texas Roadhouse, and that would be the building that's to the south of the site or to the bottom of the plan. The second one is a national tenant as well. The third building that we put on the site is merely just to try to put an end cap there, try to make a little bit of an attractive site with a drive-through. We don't have a tenant at that time for that particular location, and certainly could work with the town on whether or not they would like to see something like that or not like to see something like that. This is the town zoning map, and I tried to put an arrow where our property is. It's hard to see because the M from the RM sort of covers the property. But as you can see, up and down the area on Route 9, most of the properties that are adjacent to Route 9 are in the BH zone. And we're trying to really, I guess, bring this more into compliance with the other properties that are up and down Route 9. So I do have a list of the properties that are, or the permitted uses that are approved for the BH zone. Of course, I'm sure that you know what they are, and I won't belabor that point. But we'd like to proceed with applying for a rezone application and a site plan approval. So that would be something that would go to the town board, and then obviously over to the planning board, and then back to the town board for an approval.
Kelly, where are the other ORs? Is that behind Crunch Fitness?
Yes, off of Neptune Road in the back.
Yeah.
And some of those may or may not, this may not reflect all of the properties that are in OR. I don't know if any of those have changed as part of the approvals. Neil, I don't know, have any of those properties changed from OR to BH? Back on Kaminsky's? I'm not sure if they have or they haven't. Recreational facilities, I know that's the theme of his property, is permitted in the OR, so they may have stayed.
Okay. So basically this is not your application for the rezone. This is
Correct. It's just to
Present to the
introduce it
board.
to the board and get your comments and your thoughts, and
And you
then,
have a commitment from a national
Yes.
restaurant, Texas Roadhouse.
correct,
You're in negotiation with another national firm for the next building,
correct.
and you're asking for our permission to make the application?
Well,
What she's going to need from us is she's going to seek a rezoning application. So in other words, this is zoned OR right now, which has, limited use. She wants to go to Business Highway, which, we can make sure everybody has the uses, but Highway Business District has a lot more uses that are allowed in the district. Everything from, bakeries to banks to clubs, health and fitness, delicatessens, country clubs, inns, nurseries, offices, outdoor recreation, personal service business. So there's quite a list. So Business Highway gives them the ability to, potentially get someone in there that wouldn't be allowed in Office Research. Office Research is very limited, and as you can see from the map, there's.
It is surrounded by Business
It is.
Highway too, so it sort of seems like
It is,
it's falling in
that's
place.
absolutely valid,
And
yeah.
it's my understanding, I think, I haven't seen it, but there's an application for a restaurant on the adjacent property just to the north by Golden Corral. So it seems to be something that's consistent along that roadway right there.
Kelly, what's located behind it? It's not the apartments,
Behind
there's
it is
something behind it?
it's a vacant piece of land that's owned by the apartments, and then the apartments are in the back.
Do you know how big a piece that is?
It's not very big.
Sorry, Jay, just actually there, the auto repair, there's a couple of auto repair shops immediately behind it.
Yes.
And then there's a vacant piece, and then you get to the apartments. So there's no residences behind there.
Is it a pretty big piece, Neil? Is it a decent sized piece there?
The site we're
An
talking
acre?
about?
No, the one behind it. An acre, a couple acres?
No, it's small. Yeah, we don't see the,
It's
you
just
see
on the left
you
of
see
the
the
map.
facility on the map, I'm sorry, in the aerial.
Yeah.
It doesn't really depict it as sort of a,
I mean, he's
it's not
talking
terribly
to
large. I
Mike.
don't know how big it is. It's not that long. Actually, the driveway for it is Sunset Drive, which is actually a town road. It's more functions more like a driveway.
All right.
If I could, Bill, just in answer to your question, the conversation that you're having with Kelly tonight about the project, this is, for want of a better word, sort of a toe in the water. If the board, let's say, had a visceral reaction, this is not something we want to entertain, she wouldn't be making the application. She's looking for a reaction. Is this something the board might entertain as a formal application, at which point then she would submit that. You may recall that for the Dahlia property up on 9G, which is coming back before you for, I think you set the public hearing, the original committee of the whole discussion, the board didn't like the original layouts. And so at that time, you had directed Kelly to go back, rework it. She came back, I think, at least twice more. And you got to a point where the site plan was something, okay, we can work with this, at which point she made her application. So you have that ability to say, yeah, we'd like you to tweak it. We'd like you to do something a little bit different. And we do that because at the end of the process, assuming the board approves the rezoning, you're approving it for this project.
Right.
And that's the key, because we're going to run, what we end up doing is running the review on the rezoning and the review of the site plan by the planning board concurrently. So at the end, this is the project that you're approving.
And we can, we can look at the uses. If there's uses that we're not comfortable with and we want to strip out, I believe we can do that for this
And we have done
rezoning.
that on rezoning applications.
Right. So,
Well, buildings on this plan are oriented to Route 9. That's a traffic light controlled intersection for north and south traffic in and out.
yeah.
The flow through the property is fine. It doesn't seem, it's far enough away from the apartment building to have hardly any impact to it at all. So it looks like a viable plan. I don't know about the tenants. Texas Roadhouse, there's one in Middletown, I think.
Kingston, actually.
There's one in Kingston.
Kingston.
And
Is it
there
Kingston?
was
Kingston,
people waiting
yeah.
outside of it, so it'd
So-
probably be a very good fit here.
I think it's good and beneficial for the town, and the removal of that building was good and beneficial for the town. So if it helps them get better tenants, then that's fine. I think this is,
Some jobs in
The
the
other tenant that you can't mention, you don't want to mention is give us a retail.
It's a retail,
off-
and it's not a high traffic user, so it's not someone that's a high parking volume user. So it's a really nice compatible use because of that. And the hours are more restrictive than the Texas Roadhouse hours.
And the size of these buildings are what you're contemplating, and the Texas Roadhouse is what, 3,000 square feet or
I think it's six.
six?
I think
and-
it's six, and it's like 6 and 7.
Thought you were a little over 7.
Yeah.
yeah, see, they think,
And the other, so the other building
Is
would be.
6 also,
oh,
yeah,
it'd
it's
be
a comparable size.
size.
Yeah. And the buildings, I didn't really go into the site plan too much, but the frontage, the front of the building line is the same as the front of the building line of the other
It is.
project of the existing building, well, the prior building. The parking lot is also lined up with the edge of the parking lot for the existing site. So we've tried to keep it as de minimis as possible. We eliminated one of the entrances off of Anthony. There were 4, and now we've made 3, just to try to streamline that and the circulation throughout the property a little bit better.
One of the things that we will be looking at, assuming the board indicates that it's willing to entertain the application, is trying to understand the parking demand between the 3 uses, at least the 2 known uses. One of the concerns would be, let's say for the Texas Roadhouse, they have a parking demand of X. It might be 120, 140 cars, something like that during the peak hour. There's something in the range of about 190 spaces shown on this plan. The second use were another restaurant that also operated the same hours. You would not have enough parking. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to be looking at as part of the site plan reviews, to make sure that there's adequate parking. We don't have an overlap of the operating hours such that people have difficulty getting in and out. We're putting stress on the light. One of the things we'll be looking at as well is in the northbound Route 9 lane, there is a turn lane for the left-hand turn. Is the queue for that long enough?
The stack lane,
Yeah,
yes.
right now, it's functioning great. I've never seen it where you're spilling out into that far left lane. But if you're introducing a new restaurant use, people like to go to it. These operations are popular. I haven't been to one, but my understanding is they're popular.
Yeah.
So is the queue lane long enough? Is there a need for an off-site improvement? Those are exactly the types of things we'll be looking at.
So if we say, yes, this looks like a good idea, then our planning board is the group responsible for how the parking is laid out, how the flow inside the lot is.
Right.
So we're just saying this is a concept that we think would be beneficial for the town.
Yeah, in other words, you're just simply saying, yeah, this is something we think we can work with. And, with the understanding that there would be changes perhaps to the site plan through that process. The applicant would also periodically come back to this board as changes are made to this plan to apprise you of those changes. In other words, avoiding going through, several months' worth of work with the planning board and then coming back and saying, we haven't seen this in 6 months, here's the plan, and you guys haven't seen it yet.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Anything else?
Just since it's on my ward, maybe.
Sure,
about 2
yeah.
cents in.
Make sure
It seems to be a nice project. I'm very premature just to talk about. And it'll be great to have jobs there, especially for apartments in the back that people will walk to restaurants or retail that you're having. Can you explain to me that piece of property in the back, Kelly? The little island there, is that cars? But the piece
The drive-through, okay,
it-
yeah, the last building on the top of the drawing, which would be furthest to the north, is just a speculative building. So we put that on there because we thought it would be nice to have an end cap and perhaps attract something like a Starbucks or something that may want to come in there for a drive-through. We do not have a tenant for that building, and so through the planning board process or through the town board process, if we get feedback that you don't want to see another building there on the end cap that's a drive-through, then, we'll rework the site. But this was our attempt to try to put together what we thought was a cohesive mix of users.
I'm just going to put my planning board cap for a second,
Go
if I
ahead.
may.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems that round, it's a little too tight for maybe a fire truck to go around.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can come back, maybe I'm not sure how much square footage is between the two.
Right,
So,
that we
but-
could expand it.
Yeah.
How many square feet was the old building?
It was 2 stories in some locations, so the total square footage was 31 or 32,000 square feet, because it had terraces and the back had a second story where the offices were.
Okay,
And then inside, there was a terrace where they overlooked the manufacturing.
okay.
Yeah, but anytime we can put commercial into the Spackenkill School District, it's definitely a plus.
I
'cause it
agree,
just
and I
helps.
apologize for any attempt to make it sound like it was the town taxes, and I should have qualified it and say that it was really, we're having a challenge with the school taxes, so that's where our problem lies.
And, even with the 3 buildings, if the old one was even 25,000 square feet, being conservative, with these 2 at 6,000 apiece, and then the end one, a couple thousand, we're still square footage less than the building that was
Oh,
on there.
it absolutely is. I
which
can do an overlay, and show you.
Yeah, so that's.
So
I
it's
think,
less,
a
and
good
I mean,
thing.
it's a prettier site,
Yeah.
we'll-
Yeah.
And the last thing, Kelly, just to make sure that the tenant knows there are 2 restaurants on the planning board, on the table. So you want to make sure that they're aware there are other restaurants here, so you don't want much competition.
But I did hear on the news today that Texas Roadhouse was ranked 5th in popularity for first dates. So in case anyone's interested.
I'll go with
we'll
you.
have a
You
little
want
matchmaker on the end.
That's a unique criteria.
What is the other restaurant, Joe? There's Golden Hardee's,
Arby's?
Arby's,
Arby's?
Hardee's, okay.
Hardee's.
Arby's.
And the
Golden
Golden
Corral.
Corral's looking
Okay.
in Hardee's, yeah.
Different platforms than what the
Yeah.
Roadhouse is, but welcome.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
and again, restaurants are great, they bring jobs, but I'd really like to see more pay jobs, manufactured. But again,
I think the
it's the
other,
economy that.
you'll
calls.
like the other tenant, and hopefully, once we
Okay.
get, but we've been reluctant to finalize the leases, obviously, because everything's conditional upon us being able to proceed with an application.
Thank you, Kim.
I think for the most part, the town board is, receptive and we like what we see, so.
Okay, very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks.
All right. We'll give Kelly a minute to wrap up. We've got the town controller here, as I mentioned last week. He has done he's closed out 2014. And although we meet quarterly, the controller and I, and we monitor the town budget and keep an eye on things as best we can. At the end of the year, meet with department heads to review their budgets. We're a big enough municipality that until the dust settles, it's hard to, know for sure where things, how it's looking year end. So he's crunched the numbers. He's gone over them. He's assured me numerous times, and I think he's got good news. 2014 ended up being a positive year for the town of Poughkeepsie, in spite of the winter we had last year. It was really positive, and he's going to share with you some financial information and data, and take any questions you have.
Doreen, would you get a couple of the lights up front?
Oh, my.
Jim Wadowitz, Town Comptroller. First of all, thanks for having me. Look forward to giving a presentation. Joe, I want to welcome you aboard. I know you're going to be great.
Thank you.
I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to Stefan. Last week I was out of town. I'm going to miss him. He was chairman of the Finance Committee and the Personnel Negotiating Committee, and along with Jay and Mike and Joe, I think we worked well together, so I'll miss Stefan as well. Tonight I'm going to outline the 2014 financial results of the town. Todd continues to want us to be very transparent. He's been patient with me. But the town, we're on an accrual basis, so it takes a while to close the town our size down because we get accounts receivable checks. For example, we received a check from Time Warner for the fourth quarter of 2014 2 weeks ago. And the same thing goes with our payables. I want to make sure I pay everything that belongs to 2014 for 2014. So we pay 2014 bills right into March. So Todd, thank you for your patience, and feel free to jump in whenever you want. So basically these numbers are unaudited. The next step is these numbers go on a report I file with Albany. That's May 1st. And then our auditors come in and they do the certified audit. And that's basically the starting point of that. So without further ado, I'm going to take you through some of the charts. They get better, the chart. So the first chart is our general fund appropriations. The first column is the budget. Todd, could you shift over a little bit? Mike?
I think it.
So the first chart, we list every cost center in the general fund. We had a budget of 6.4 million. The actual expenses came in at 5.9. That's positive to budget by 428,000. So basically what I want to do is just go through a couple of the highlights. In the middle of the page here, you see judgment and claims. We had a $300,000 budget. We spent $195,000. This is positive to budget $104,000. This is a category that we think has peaked. Todd watches this continually. He wants to know. This is for people that bring tax certs against the town. So that number was over $300,000 a couple years ago. So we cut that back down to $195,000. We have a new tax receiver and a new town clerk. They didn't miss a beat. They both did great. They're good at keeping their budgets. So Felicia, thank you. Jim Nelson does a good job in the legal budget. That budget, in the middle of the page, $428,000, spent $409. That budget, Todd, in 2011 was $538,000. So I'm not sure if I should tell Jim that or not, but he's doing a good job as well. A small one down near the bottom, the pool, I have a double asterisk. I want to give Tom Meyering some credit. We had a budget about 10 up from the top, $30,660. we only had to expend $79.69. What happened there was, after we had our budget put to bed for 2014, the city of Poughkeepsie pulled a fast one on us. They gave Tom a call, so they no longer wanted to share Spratt Park with us. So Tom was able to change his strategy. We went to the Hudson Valley Community Center, and you'll see the revenue down as well. So that worked out. The next slide, I told you it gets better, the quality. The next slide is our part town. This is the largest fund of the town. Part town means it excludes the village of Wappingers. Our police are in this budget, for example. They do not go into the village of Wappingers. So on this budget again, $17,946,000 is our appropriated budget. It comes in $360,000 less expended than budget. So again, positive. The police budget, again, and the police budget has in there, we have union contracts tied out to 2019. All that money is accounted for in there. Next schedule is our highway budget. Again, our highway superintendent's a team player. He works well with us. I'll take your attention to the snow, for example. In 2014, $607,000 budgeted. And it came in $12,000 under budget. So I'm not sure what that number is. Something's not right there, but $12,000 under budget. So 2015, Todd, we are not in the same situation. 2015 was a tougher budget. And matter of fact, I'll be back in May to go over the first quarter results. Next is our water fund. The water fund budget, again, the water fund is our strongest fund in the town. We have about a $4.8 million fund balance opening the year up. And this year we've used about $600,000 that instead, in lieu of bonding, we were able to, because we have a major capital project going on at the water plant. So the first $900,000 or so we're able to use out of our monies out of our water fund, which will save on our bonding. Sewer fund, again, Frank Ozani runs the distribution portion, and everything is running well. There is United Water has a 5-year contract that expires in next year, 16. But again, everything's on budget, and the sewer fund has over a $3 million fund balance. Now we get to the revenues of the town. The first one is courts. I wanted to show some negatives as well. The courts, for the first time, we've had a negative trending. We had a budget upped it to $975,000, came in at $722,000, so we're short the budget $252,000. In the last 3 years, we had attained over $830,000. So we're working on that. We're hoping that turns back around. On a positive note, our mortgage tax, a couple down, we had budgeted $800,000, it came in at $966,000. So we have a $166,000 surplus there. Do you want to say anything about that, Todd?
You know, mortgage tax, I've said this numerous times with the downturn in the economy. We had a mortgage tax receivable in 2008 of approximately $2.3 million. Last year we had that budget line, that revenue line, budgeted at $800,000, just to show you how the economy affects us in this particular area. Jim and I watch every month. We get a notification from the county clerk as to what our mortgage receivable was the previous month. We just got our notification for March of 15, but as of last November, we knew we were coming in short. And you know, it was kind of ironic. I was reading the paper one day, I think in December, and there was a story about the South Hills Mall selling. So I came in and said to Jim, you know, we hadn't heard it was selling. I said, when did that close? He didn't know. And I said, well, when we get our mortgage tax number, we'll know whether it closed December or not. And we both were waiting kind of with, pins and needles, waiting to see what December was going to come in at, because we know we were likely to come up short on this number just because the economy wasn't improving like we thought it might be. And we got our mortgage tax receivable for December, and it came in at $300,000. We had been averaging 50 or 60,000 the previous 11 months. So, you can just see how when a big ticket item like this, South Hills Mall, or, a big commercial space sells, it trickles down eventually to us, and it did help this budget line in a big way. So it was an interesting development right at the end of the year.
Yeah, that really helped us. On the bottom, you'll see the pool. I had mentioned the expenses. So we had budget again. The budget was in balance at 3557, and the revenues came in at 7990. Lots more. We had changed strategy, as I mentioned earlier. Next schedule is the Parktown revenues. This is our biggest fund. Sales tax distribution. We're pretty much locked in with the county, but we do get an adjustment. As a matter of fact, we just received a check for $262,000 representing the sales tax growth. So that was a pleasant surprise. We weren't expecting that. So we certainly had some problems with the county, but we were very happy about that. Franchise taxes are up, $51,000. That's our cable with Time Warner, Cablevision, and Verizon. Our rental of real property is up by $67,000. That's basically, we have a new contract over at the police court building. In addition, this rent captures the poles where they have the radio waves for the cell phones. So again, $480,000 above. Highway budget is on. Most of their revenue comes right from the tax money. Mark has CHIPS money that he uses. That's in balance. The expense and revenue ties out. I don't want to bore you. Water fund, sewer fund. I want to get to the chart here. Now this chart up top shows these are the actual results. So the general fund, our actual revenues were $6.2 million. Our expenses were $5.9 million. The 2014. So this is money that goes into our fund surplus.
In the A fund.
In the A fund, $252,000. And this is what we strive for, to ensure that our actual revenues exceed our actual expenses when we put a budget together. The B fund, our largest fund, we had picked up $823,000, and the highway fund, $230,000. So basically, I'm able to report that we picked up about $1.2 million for our fund balance. If these numbers hold, I'm confident they will. That's going to make Moody's happy, that type of thing. So that's basically the bottom line. And then I'll be back again, Todd. Once we're back in May, we'll start reporting the first quarter numbers.
Can you get those lights? Thanks. So I appreciate, Jim, all your hard work. I mean, the bottom line is, as you can see, those surplus numbers, 252 in the general fund, 824,000 in the B fund, and 231,000 in highway are surpluses. As Jim said, they will float to our fund balance, which is in essence the town savings account. The state, Moody's, they want us to have a fund balance of between 5 and 10%. This should push us over 10%. It should get us closer to 12% for a fund balance. So, the good news is that the town is financially sound, fiscally sound. It should help our bond rating, help with when we have to borrow, we can get more attractive rates. So, as I said, the numbers for 14 are very good, and it's a concerted effort. Last year when we went into the year, we had some highway trucks, major part of Mark's fleet coming off lease. And, we met with Mark. We didn't have to explain the situation to him. He knew the economy was difficult, so he had agreed with us to, kind of milk the old trucks along for another year, which allowed us to dump, that money that would have gone into a new lease into, our fund balance. And, it's how Mark and I and the other department heads, Tom and all of them really, we work together to really bring the best financial results we can in the town. And, we see municipalities around us, over the years struggling with finances, and, you can see when they have to dig out of budgetary shortfalls, how that impacts the taxpayers, and impacts them with big property tax increases. A town in southern Dutchess a couple years ago had to have a 50% tax increase to eat away at a budget deficit. So a fund balance of over 10% is a very positive development. Certainly a very good news for the town of Poughkeepsie, its taxpayers, and any business in the town. So any questions for the controller?
No, I just
have a question.
Go ahead, Jim. Please, go right ahead.
Great presentation, Jim. Great budget. I mean, I think other towns should be jealous of us, if you're telling me. But I noticed on the MTA tax, you had a budget lineup, and then there was zero. And then I noticed on the other slide, you had a budget with some about $36,000 in budget, and then $6,000 spent. Is the town paying for MTA tax?
Yes, yeah, we pay MTA tax.
Still?
Yeah. I just read recently that the libraries are able to come off, but
yeah,
I know they took the school districts off a couple of years, but we're still paying.
Joe, did you see?
I just wanted to say that we, in these finance and the budget committee meetings we have, we're banging the department heads over their head to try to get them to lower their budgets, and although they know it hurts, they're able to do it. And Jim, what you were saying about all the team players that you got here, and it starts with you, Todd. I want to give you a compliment. You're running a great town, along with the help of everybody else. But you're right, just what you were saying, Joe. It's fantastic to see this kind of information come out, and it really makes us a really strong town, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Anything else?
Yeah, along the line with both of you said is, every year we meet during budget time, you used to always hear from government, buy it, spend it, hide it, throw it away. Well, you know what, when our department heads come in, they've all been here for many years, they come in, and it's, we can work with this one, we can work with Mark, we can work with somebody else to try to get something to come together. Instead of going and battling heads like the first couple of years, it's become a real asserted effort amongst everybody here, including Jim. We need something we call, he's called other towns, how did you do this, and how did you get this done? And we've actually been very good, and if you look at the numbers are coming down because it is a team effort. It's no longer the battle and the button heads, which was the first few years where we always walked out going, we need this back for you. Now it's come in, we gave you the best we could, we got any ideas to get better. And that's what we've been trying to do, and it seems to be working, and Todd stays on top of it on a monthly basis. We have department head meetings, so we don't get caught at the last second.
Anything else? Thanks. Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Thanks, Mr.
Hard
Waddle.
work. All right. Last but not least, on our committee of the whole, Councilman Carlos has arranged, as some of you know, and many of you may not, there's major road work finally going to be completed on Spring Road. And this has been a project that the town's been working on for probably 7 years. It's, federal money and some state money, and although we like to get grants and help with funding of major infrastructure projects like this, sometimes those things don't make it easier. But we have resident engineer Keith Foucher. Is that right? Fauché. Oh, very nice. Here tonight from HVA Engineers to give us basically some ideas of the closures. There's going to be significant closure of Spring Road during the summer months in order to accomplish this work. So we wanted to try to make sure as much as possible residents are aware of what's happening there and some details on the work. So Keith, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate Councilman Carlos reaching out to me. It's always nice to work with the local people and to head off any problems that may come up. As you just said, Todd, that the highway construction is underway. As part of the contract, we have a detour plan. We will be implementing that plan, which was approved by the DOT as part of the contract. starting Monday, the 13th. There are signs in place along Route 9 and along Vassar Road, which are currently covered and bagged, which will direct traffic away from Spring Road, coming down Vassar out to Route 9 and northbound on Route 9, and similar coming southbound on Route 9. It'll send them to Vassar Road and around. The closure itself will consist of Jersey barrier blockade across at Vassar Road. They will be placed in such a way that it's definitely closed, but vehicles will be able to negotiate around. The local residents, as well as deliveries, fire, school buses will be able to negotiate it. There'll be movable barriers there also with the road closed on it, visible from Vassar Road so that people don't start to turn. Coming southbound on Vassar, we will barricade off the right turn lane so that people have to stay straight and go south. At the Route 9 end, we will be putting the same barricades, the Jersey barriers, across the road just to the east of Cure Road. So the light at Cure and Panera Bread will still be functioning. The school buses to go up to Oak Grove. The school up in there will still have access in and out. I've been in contact with both the school, with the school district, the fire department, and the police. They're all aware of this closure. At Victor Lane and Rowley Lane, where they enter onto Spring Road, there will be a barricade across and road closed, but once again, everything will be negotiable. People can go around and get on it.
So Keith, just to clarify that, so someone living on Victor or Raleigh or Malmrose Terrace when they're trying to get to Vassar Road, can negotiate onto Spring, trip the light and help them get out?
Right, they will have full access to Spring Road to go either to the Galleria or to Vassar. They will have to expect a normal road construction delay. We will have flag persons out. We will, maintain traffic on the road as if it was open for traffic, but with the closure, that will reduce the number of vehicles, and we'll be able to get this job done quickly and safely.
Okay.
Right now, it's just very difficult doing any work out there. We have limited what work we've done. If anybody's been through there, you've noticed we've chopped down a lot of rock, which is where we're going to be straightening the road and lowering it. That we could do because the machines were off the road. Once the closure is in effect, we will be able to go full scale.
Okay.
So that's our plan. Councilman Carlos was concerned about the cars, possibly people, the general public now realizing that maybe they can scoot around by going on Rowley and Malmrose. So in conjunction with Carlos and within my contract, what I have available to me, we'll be putting barricades across both those roads at Vassar with a road closed, local traffic only sign.
Okay.
To keep people out, even though there are left turn and right turn restrictions.
Yep. Good.
So hopefully we can get this in place and have little consequences. I realize at first it's going to be confusing to people, but they'll get used to it and they'll get
And the
around.
closure scheduled from, you said April 13th to?
I have been telling the people on Spring Road, I met with most of them till August 31st, but that's the contract limit.
Okay.
I'm hoping to be done before that and open the road back up sooner.
But it could be from mid-April to the end of August. Spring Road will be closed for through traffic to 9. It'll only be available for local traffic, residents who live in that area, and local deliveries. Joe, you sure? Why don't you come on up? Because I know you live over that way. If you have a question.
I guess the main question is how will you control knowing what people are local?
Well, at this point, it'll be the honor system. We really don't anticipate any trouble. We will be watching it, obviously, if the amount of traffic that we witness, that we see doesn't really fit what local is, then we will address it, possibly with a tag.
Myself, I'll go the long way around because I'm at the other end.
Right.
Which isn't blocked off, but if I had to come here, I'd have to go around, which I have no problem doing, which I hope more people do, but I know there's gonna be a lot of them are gonna try to sneak.
Well,
Question about it.
that's the nature of human beings.
Yes,
They
right.
will, if they think they can, they will try it.
It sounds like what they'll find is a much slower route and
Yeah,
a
still be held
much
up.
prolonged,
Oh,
Vassar
cut.
Road's gonna go crazy.
Cut
It's gonna
through.
be tremendous, Vassar.
Oh, yeah, Vassar Road will be.
In
it'll be
certain
backing
times
up.
of the day, no question about
Be
it.
backing
But
up
I didn't
the
know
pipe.
if you were gonna initiate something like a person had a tag in the window with his address on it. or
Not at this point.
Something simple that you could see right away.
Not at this
But they
point.
cheat on that too, so.
But we hope, as we found in other construction projects, people do tend to make other arrangements. They'll try it a couple of times and they find out that's not the easiest way to go, they'll go another way.
Yeah.
But
And the whole idea, again, as Keith mentioned, is, this is to try to provide public safety. I mean, the public safety and the safety of the guys doing the work, so.
That's, we did some flyers out to the roads that are involved. And all the people that we spoke to, very supportive of of what has to happen, because everybody knows Spring Road has been like that for a long time. There were some concerns on Malmrose and Raleigh for the cut-through traffic when they see Spring Road. It's like if there's an accident now on Spring, all of a sudden, all of that Spring Road traffic is going through those neighborhoods, which is not good for the young people on their bikes and people walking dogs and the rest of it. So the plan that's come up with protects that. Can we eliminate all of it? No, people will do what people do. But when they cut through, let's say they come down Vassar Road, they make the right turn into Malmrose to cut around. When they get to Malmrose at Spring, there's barricades that says road
They're gonna
closed.
find it very slow.
If they go up to Victor, it's gonna say road closed.
All right.
The local residents will be able to, if they have to go around that barrier, get out onto Spring Road and go out that way. That will all depend upon what they're doing, if they have the whole road torn up across. So, those three streets could go back out to Vassar Road from Malmrose or Raleigh and go left or right, so that they can get out without having to go out onto Spring Road, and they can come in without having to come from Spring Road. So I think the plan is well thought out, well done. We've notified everybody that lives in there. Keith has done walking on Spring Road to the people along Spring Road. All the others have flyers, and they have my phone number, email in case there's a problem they need to get information. I can either facilitate it with our town highway or the police department or with Keith from the engineering.
And I think you just said this, but I zoned out for a minute. The safest way for people to get out of Victor, Raleigh, or Malmrose, if they want to take a left onto Vassar, is to still access Spring Road so they can trip the light, have the light turn.
If it's work, yes, if they can get out that way.
Just to clarify one thing that Bill mentioned, at no time will the road be impassable.
Right.
They'll
They can't.
always
We
be
have to be
open
able
to
to get in.
traffic.
Right.
It's not gonna be a case that you pull out and the road is totally blocked, won't be open for hours. No.
can't
It'll always
do
be, it'll always be open to traffic.
Local delivery,
Yeah.
you know, the regular things, they just can't do it that way. But they're against a hard deadline of August 31st. The money is done at August 31st, so they've got to be done. And the only way to do that is to shut it down and go at it. So.
That's fine.
Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you very much for being here.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I'd like to suspend the rules for public comment on town issues or anything we've discussed tonight. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone like to address the board? Doreen?
Regarding the highway budget, I had asked a couple weeks ago about, because of the snow, overtime, salt, all that. So Jim went through that kind of fast. So the highway department ended up still with surplus money?
That was last year, Doreen.
Right, we're talking about 2014, which ended in December. So,
Right.
yeah, we were within budget in December, or for 2014 in highway, even though it was a.
So, but I mean, because there was snow, okay, so up
What
until.
you had asked a few weeks ago, I think, was in
Right.
relation to 15.
Okay.
And 15, as Jim says, a little different story. We're I think Salt, we were over budget at this point, and subcontractors were a little over. We're working, the highway department's working with us to leave a few positions vacant to try to eat up some of
I
that
remember you saying
overage.
that. But was there a surplus from 2014 for the highway department?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so, okay. All right, so there was a surplus for 2014, even 2015?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I just wanted to clarify the vote for Fairview Commons. First, Todd, you said 6-0, and then later it was 6-0-1, so Councilman Lepore, you abstained?
Correct.
And did you abstain because you had a business relationship with them?
No, not at all. No business relation at all.
Okay.
I think Councilman Lepore, being his first night, he wasn't privy to previous discussions about these documents and these covenants, so he had spoken to me earlier and said he thought he'd abstain from that vote, so I said, fine.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Thanks, Doreen. Anybody else? Joe?
Just a couple of quick things. On this maintenance contract on Route 9 and 55, the
Yeah.
amount of money that you said was for the rest of the year in maintenance, the 2,100?
That's the amount of money that was in the resolution strictly for this particular process, and this is the application of a pre-emergent fertilizer, which has to get down technically in the next week or so. So we asked contractors for a price for that service, and that's the lowest price we received.
And that's the maintenance of the?
No, it's just the application of this pre-emergent fertilizer.
Because who's ever doing the maintenance on South Road, to me, is not a good job, whatever they're doing.
It's the company that did it. The company that did it last year had told us they're not interested in it again this year. So we've got to seek someone else.
The overgrowth and the look lousy, it wasn't being kept up. I assume that stuff was put in there to knock down the headlights from lane to lane. If that was the reason, I don't know, but I think it looks lousy and it's not well taken care of.
Was courtesy of the state years ago.
Yeah, I know. 55 is a little better. They don't have hardly
Yeah.
any of that stuff. They're
I know.
just the nice trees.
Yep.
My other question, and people probably can't answer it, this rezoning on the old DuPont building.
Yeah.
They had trouble, what she said, with it.
Yeah.
And I think probably one of the problems was that the building itself was a lousy building to work with. And I'm wondering if, now that they knocked it down, if they ever tried to go to some of these other type of outfits that they tried to get before, or if that wasn't a feasible thing to do because of the hoops that they had to go through with them, I guess. I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, I think in general it was the zoning office research. It's, it's a struggle. Used to be a bigger industry, especially in this area when IBM was in its heyday. And
Well, I understand, but there's other manufacturing I think would have been, like it was mentioned, been a much better fit for the area manufacturing wise for jobs, and the tax is going to go down for that particular property because of what's on there or going to be on there.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it's been. No, because the building's been vacant for 10 years, so when a building sits there vacant, the assessment is lowered because there's no use for it. Now it'll put it back basically into use, and I think it'll increase the taxable value of the property.
Well, I'm just saying it was a smaller square footage of use than was there before when it was operational as to what the tax was. The tax is a little less when the building sits vacant like that?
Building sets, yes.
Yeah, but I wasn't aware of that, but whatever. I just thought maybe they could, now that they knocked it down and build whatever they needed to build, they could have looked a little bit further maybe and made it better. I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I make a motion to adjourn the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to go through our committee reports. Before we do that, though, I'd like to just announce, I've asked Councilman Baisley to be deputy supervisor. He's accepted that responsibility, so Jay will become our deputy supervisor. And I thought the easiest way to handle committees is that the committees that Councilman Krakauer is on, we will fill with Councilman Lepore, and we'll go from there, at least for the remainder of the year. All right, Finance, Jay, anything going
No,
on?
nothing to report. Jim already gave the yearly report.
Fire Advisory?
Nothing to report there.
Government Ops?
Nothing to report.
Land Use and Planning, Mike?
Nothing to report.
Personnel?
Nothing to report.
Recreation?
Nothing to report besides they're getting ready to, baseball's getting ready to start and grand openings in a couple of weeks. So everybody feel free to come out for the parade and root them all on.
Yeah.
It's a good group of guys that are out there and the kids do a great job and their parents support them very well.
It's April 18th. There's 2 opening days,
Yes, and we,
one at 9, one at 11.
yep, thank you. Senior Citizens?
Nothing to report.
Technology and Equipment?
Nothing to report.
Infrastructure?
A little bit to report. Sewer has had, sewer department's had 3 collapses in the last month. One was rather significant on the main trunk going down to the plant through the IBM parking lot. The pictures that I saw at the meeting today, it was a significant event. It's repaired now, it's back in place. What was explained to me, that in these sewer pipes, they do get a certain amount of grit, runoff, wash. And over time, that can, especially the older pipes, eat away on the inside of the pipe, and all of a sudden you'll have a collapse. And it is sewer, so it can be a real mess. Franco did a great job. The men that do that work, just imagine, the flow was down by 2 million gallons of sewer. Flow was down. It was leaking out. Just imagine what those men did down in that hole for almost, 40 hours. But it's done. It's finished until the next one. But he had a specific problem this year. And the inflow from runoff water into the sewer system increases the flow through the sewer system, and these are the kinds of problems we get from it. So you know now, I was amazed to see what I saw today and what those men did, and they're the people that work for us. So a compliment to Franco and to all the people that work in the sewer department. That is not a very pleasant job.
No.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of our committee reports. Jay?
Be it resolved, the Town Board of Township is hereby adjourned to executive session to consider the following matters to wit. 1, confidential communications between the attorney and his client, the Town Board, based on attorney-client privilege. 2, matters leading to the appointment, employment, dismissal, or removal of a person, firm, or corporation. And be it further resolved, there will be no action appropriating money. So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Town Board adjourns to executive session at 8:25 PM.